What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. We've got some good news, and we got some bad news this episode. But I'm excited, so let's start with the good news. Ba-bam! We got our retractable oxygen farms back. What? Might be wondering how we managed to pull that off. Actually, I just realized this is in fact the wrong color, as always. I always start off with the default color for some reason. It never saves my color choice, and then I start building, and then I realize when things are too light gray that it's like, oh, that is not correct. So, you might be mildly confused, which makes sense, to be honest. And it retracts. Kerplunk. And then I need to make these into a group. Actually, let's do O2. And then we'll make this O2 farm group, or farm left group. Now we don't need the group. Actually, we'll know that's O2 farm. And maglock. We're gonna lock that. I don't have this set up quite automated just yet. And I have not done the other side because I was just testing this out to see if this would work yet or not. And it appears to be working. The reason this worked is because we got the assembler and refineries back as well. You might be wondering how we managed to pull that off after the last episode of me saying that it was broken. Well, I gotta be honest. I don't know if it's broke or not. I don't know if by the time I got around to this episode, if the mod developers found a way to fix it, or if it was a bad reaction to the update and then changing it fixed. So basically what I did, before I do every episode, I usually make a new version of the file. So at the moment, the save file is like, you know, Corvette V5, I think, and the one before that was 4.9, and the one before that was 4.8, and so on and so forth. Mostly just because if I do something that then everyone is just like, no, what were you thinking? Don't do that, fix it now. I can go back and just reload the old file and nothing ever happened, and we're done. But what I ended up doing, so I made a new file, as I always do before I do another episode, but I also went in and checked the mods. Now, I was going to add a couple other ones that looked like they might have alternatives to... Let's see if it's in here. Maybe it wasn't an assembler. Oh, no, I think it was. I think it's this one that says it's a large assembler for a small ship. Let me see if I can find an open slot here. So it was like this. I wasn't sure what the block was, but it just said assembler and it worked on a small ship, so I grabbed it. But that's not entirely the case. So I'm glad that this ended up working anyway. But I also had an idea, and that was to reload the small ship mega mod pack. Now, when I say reload, I already had that in my mod list, but I decided to like pull it out of the list and put it back in to kind of like refresh the thing, so that it had to like reload the whole entire mod into the save file type of thing. And one of those worked. Either making a new save file on the current update worked, or it was reloading the mod, taking it out, putting it back in, or somewhere along the way, they just ended up patching it. But if you're having a problem with the same thing that I was, where some of the small ship blocks are not showing up, and you have the small ship mega mod pack, all that stuff that's supposed to take care of all that, do try that, one or both, whatever. But making a new file and pulling it out and putting it back in your mod list does seem to work, because now we have our mods back. Now, the bad news to this, because some of you might be wondering, what's the bad news? Well, the bad news is, this makes me want to reassess this situation. Now, as I said before, I do have a copy of this save file pre all of this stuff. I mean, like, it was this at the end of the last episode, where the last episode ended. I do have a saved version of that, and this is on a new save file. So when I do this, and you guys hate it, or something, I can fall back to that without problems. I do know that these don't look as cool. I mean, let's just be honest, it's a lot smaller. It does do a couple things, though. We don't need the big conveyor blocks, for one, which is a good thing. But two is we can have upgrades attached to them, and we have a much larger room for storage. So, it pains me because this wasn't exactly a short build to do this. I mean, it didn't take forever or anything, but it did take a decent amount of time. I don't know how crazy I want to get with deleting some of these conveyors, because I'm pretty sure they're going to end up in the same place anyway. But I did want to kind of clear up some of this. So, one of the things is I might want to get rid of this stuff out here, because now we have a bit more room to make our own storage room inside here. So this pretty much changes a lot of things, to be honest. It goes back to a bit of our original design. Though, I don't know if I actually want to go fully back to that or not. My reasoning for this: I've already built the room to be set up to be one room, first of all. It's a little bit bigger. The other thing is I'm not entirely sure how efficient mirroring everything is. And what I mean by that is, does it truly serve a purpose to have two reactors on each side of the room, or when one will do the trick over here, or having them both right here? Now, someone did bring up the point, and I see it. It makes sense of having everything of one type on one side. So, just assuming you took a huge hit. Now, granted, I did point out in the comments, though, these are all heavy blocks. I replaced them all through the SE Toolbox mod. Not in-game, but out of the game. It's just external third-party software. I did swap all these out to heavy block, so there's quite a bit of armor to have to punch through to get over here. I mean, admittedly, it is possible, but part of what happened in the recent update is also to make heavier block heavier. It does now cost more, which makes this a bit problematic for a survival build, but doable. It's all just steel or iron. But it also made it sturdier, so even though it costs more, it takes more of a beating. So, given that, it would take quite a bit of a pounding to get to this room. I do see the point, though, that if you have a room on each side and you take a large amount of damage on one side, you still have all the functionality on the other. I get that. I see it. But in terms of just design standpoint, I just don't know if it makes the most sense to have two small rooms on each side rather than having just one long-running connected room on the other. I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, that after doing it and after building it, it just seems to work a bit better to say cargo and refinery room and reactor room and medic and cryo, and you know what I mean? So that's my thing. That's my thing. This also means we don't need the same containers either. I'm trying to figure out how I want my hotbars set up, because they're all a mess at the moment. I don't need all of this crap for now, so we'll clear that. Let's put in container and see what we come up with. Armored container. I think that might have been a recent addition. Here's the azimuth large ones. Extra large. Interesting. Again, probably from a mod I recently added. I don't always remember what I add, to be quite honest. I see stuff and I'm like, "Ooh, this is cool." And then I add it, and then later I don't use it until like 2 episodes later, and then I'm kind of like, "Wait, did I add this?" So this is interesting. This is an armored container medium, and this is, oh, I like that. It's got large port. Oh, I like that. Here's a question though. How do these stack up to normal containers? So if this is a large, we've got one display. 8 motors, 6 computers, 25 construction components, and 7 interior plates. This is the armored of the same. So 6 computers is the same. Less motors by 2. This is 8 motors. 25 and 20 construction components are the same. You don't have any displays, which may or may not be a big deal depending on your resources. The big difference is this is only 75 interior plates. This is 150 and 150 steel plates. So it does cost a bit more, though those two are not usually that expensive to make. I do like the port setup a lot better on these, so that's interesting. What are... Oh, geez, what are these? Okay. So this is basically, it looks like 2 of the large put together. Is kind of what I'm getting from that. Though the small ports are only seen on the top, though I could roll it this way. So that's an interesting... Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the azimuth ones are similar in that regard. Let's actually try this out real quick since we're in creative and we can afford to place some blocks. Let's do some comparisons. So, standard large... Well, I'm assuming these are the same. So standard large container decided it does not want to show me the maximum volume. Alright, give me just a second. Okay, so here's what I gathered. I did some research, I know, shocking. So from what I can put together, the common denominator usually ends up being volume in terms of what you can store, although mass is given for the vanilla ones. A lot of the modded ones only listed the volume. So for the standard large containers on a small ship, the large container does about 421,000 liters, I believe, if I was reading the numbers correctly. The extra large is at 1,350,000 liters, again, if I read it right. And I believe the azimuth large container here holds about 729. I believe it's 729,000. Though I don't know if it was listed that way or not, because I think the number was like 729 either K or point or something. It was a little confusing, but I'm assuming it's like 729,000 or something. And I even spawned in like 10,000, which is like 150,000. Actually, that would make sense, actually. I was thinking that it didn't work because they wouldn't hold that, but in fact, it should be able to if it can hold 420,000. That just seemed like an awful lot to me. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and add another 0 here, and hopefully I don't break my ship trying to catch these. That always makes me nervous. Alright, so that's 1.6 million. None of these should be able to hold all of that, but in fact, in creative, it looks like they don't have a limit. Either that, or this is just holding way more than it's supposed to. I don't think I have the volume set weird because this was just a build world. So I think that's just creative, but I could be wrong. But I think it's just creative that it's just holding a ton. But I don't really know what would be quote-unquote the best option here. The large one, or the extra large one, sorry, does hold a lot, but the azimuth one seems to kind of be a bit more of a compromise. Like, it's a little bit bigger than the large one, but at the same time, it's not quite as big as the extra large, and it does seem to kind of do the job. So, I'm kind of thinking of going with this one, though I'm trying to figure out what the best way to set this up would actually be. I'm kind of thinking of setting it up horizontally this way. Actually, I just realized, sorry, the view's a little weird here. I just realized there is an actual port on the top, so tell you what I'm gonna do. Let's tab back over to this one. We're gonna put a conveyor block here, and then I'm gonna run a tube down a bit. So I've got... come on. Probably one more block. Let's bring that down. Now, if I can line this up... gosh, I can't see what I'm doing in here. Okay, why is this not lining up? I feel like it should be lining up better than that. Oh, it took it. It connected it. Okay. Is it possible we could put another storage container here? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it would really be advantageous to put a bunch of little ones right here or not. For those of you storage gurus and everything that know all the ins and outs of what's efficient, what's not efficient, what's worth it and not worth it, do let me know what you think about possibly filling in like another maybe 3x3 segment right there with some extras, or whether or not that would just be a bunch of wasted space. I would be interested in hearing that opinion. I'm also going to put, I think a couple would be good. We want, especially with what little room it seems the assembler and refinery are going to take up now. If we go back to these, which I understand some people were kind of like, you know, the Sheo ones look really cool and stuff, but they just take up so much space that I think I would rather have the smaller ones. Plus, we'd have more room for these modules, which apparently something has added more modules that I honestly do not know what they do. Junkie productivity. We're more effective at making junkies, apparently, is is what that assembler, that module is for. Advanced, and then hyper. Ooh, hyper sounds cool. Let's do some comparisons real quick. Hyper power, 12 motors, 560 tubes, 180. That's good enough. 12, 60, 80, 115, 20. Okay, so I'm guessing this is all staging, that this is like vanilla efficiency module. This is like class 2, class 3, and class 4 kind of thing. Like, I'm kind of gathering that that's what that is. Oh, obviously I haven't tested it, but that's my theory. Ideally, I guess we would want to go with the hyper ones, though I don't know how cost-effective that would really be. 500 steel plates and stuff could get pretty expensive pretty quick. Hyper effective. Actually, power efficiency is the one that I'm most concerned with, because, you know, granted, you can do more efficient things and make it, you know, more productive and all that, but I really do like the effectiveness of power upgrades, so they're not using as much. The other thing is I'm not really sure how I want to set this up, actually, because if I put them here, right, which connects it, I suppose, let's test this out. Let's just grab all of our power ones for now. Let's see if there's... okay, so there's no difference in the model. That's fine. I'm gonna put just the stock ones on for now, but okay, we do have room. So we can still put our upgrades, that's good. I think the upgrades for the refinery are all on the back anyway. The assembler is a bit more of a peculiar situation, I suppose, because it has upgrades all the way around. Though if we put one connected to the refinery right like that... ooh, I know. Put one here too. That optimizes our We have more assemblers. We could also add more refineries done this way. So, okay, I'm going to do something real quick. I don't know if it's going to stay this way or not. Probably not, because I don't really see the need for all of this. But just for a proof of concept for myself and my design, I want to test this out. So if we did something like this... Okay, that's what I was concerned about. If we did something like this, you could continue that type of build, I suppose. Actually, I think we'd even have room for another one on top. But, again, I don't think a small ship like this is going to need all that. Especially not all those assemblers and everything. But with this first row, you can actually wrap upgrades all the way around, which would be perfect. And technically, we could do 2 refineries like this and not have to do any more assemblers either. Because that's still connected with inventory. So I'm actually going to leave it. I don't like how this looks. Let me preface that. I'm not satisfied with this. I would like everyone's feedback. But overall, I'm not happy with how this looks. I like this bottom row. That seems to be relatively effective as far as... You know, we have room to latch in every possible upgrade module. I'm not too satisfied with this refinery up top here and having another layer, though. That looks a little funky. I also want to add that there to kind of brighten the room back up a little bit. Actually, no. I want to put it here. A little bit of my OCD stuff shining through there. There we go. That's all well and good. That way it's in line with the lights. I know. I like everything to be symmetrical. What I'm thinking here, though... let me actually check and see if I don't think I could put another one of these here. I think that's a little large. Well, I take that back. I might be able to do a vertical one. Though I don't know if the port lines up. It does. Gorgeous. Okay. So, what am I doing here? Well, what I'm thinking is this could end up being a production container. Like, these two could be raw materials pulled in from the main connection line, where that's gonna eventually hook into wherever I'm connecting with a small drone or something for drilling. Because I don't intend to put drills and stuff on the ship, so I'm going to have some kind of small drone. But when I say drone, I actually mean drone. Like, I'm going to do probably void thrusters, so that I can do kind of like this and optimize space. I'm going to do batteries to where I don't have to do uranium and anything. And then I'm pretty much going to do gyros, drills, all the basics, and a remote block. Like, I'm not actually making it pilotable. I would like it kind of the size of this refinery type of thing with a drill on the end. And then that's going to mount probably to the bottom of the ship, unless I can feasibly come up with a way to attach it to the top of the ship, but I'm not too convinced on how I'm going to do that yet. I have some ideas, but they're not forming properly at the moment. Oh, right, so let's just use the standard ones at the moment. You know what? I'm going to get rid of this extra refinery. I don't like it there. Module. And let's just add in our basic other two. I forget which one I don't like. I think it's the productivity. One of them, all it does is make things refine or assemble faster, but it causes a higher power consumption. Personally, my playstyle. Now, granted, you could take this design if you're following along and like building this on your own or something. You could easily take this and replace any of these power upgrade modules to your liking. I don't personally like the productivity one because all it does is speed it up. I think that might be the effectiveness one, but I think effectiveness... Gosh, I wish I could remember. I think effectiveness actually does, like on a refinery, you get more. Actually, let me see. I believe one of them will not be accepted by the assembler. It is, in fact, the effectiveness module. So, because that turned red. So the effectiveness will refine things more effectively, like you'll get more for every ore you put down. Power efficiency, obviously self-explanatory. And I think on the assemblers, because again, I don't really care if it builds it fast, I want it to build it efficiently. I'm all about efficiency, especially given that this is supposed to be a survival ship where resource management is supposed to be important. So we're going to do full power upgrades. Again, we may end up coming back and altering these to be power, the higher, like, these hyper ones. I don't know. It just depends on how feasible that all ends up being. To fill in this gap, we could also add some small storage containers for extra buffer storage. I don't know. I'm not really super worried about some of that stuff, but it's available. We could also... Ooh, I know what we could do. That would be pretty cool. Will it fit? It will fit. So we could put an LCD panel there. It's a little covered up by the power efficiency thing, but if we had it set up for just inventory or something, that could be kind of cool. Just temporarily, because I don't really know how I'm going to do this, I'm going to add a couple extra lights in here, just to liven it up a little bit. Does that work? Yeah, that works pretty good. And obviously I can't put one there because of the container. Overall, I personally am happier with this. It's a little more compact. We get some module usage. We get some extra... Overall, I think we get extra storage. I haven't actually calculated the math on how much room we're losing. We could also put a blockier square storage container here. I don't know if a large one would fit. It probably would if I took out the angle blocks there. We could definitely do at least one medium, but probably a stack of mediums. See, what I would do if we wanted to occupy this space, and I'm going to go ahead and do it, but again, let me know what your all's thoughts are on the matter, because I always like hearing people's feedback. I want this. Can I... Actually, here's a moment of truth. Can I stack one? I cannot. Okay. So I might not do that way. That's too large. But I think these are just not going to be worth it, because they don't hold a whole lot. So, suppose... you could do something like this. I want it in line with that, and then you could just do a container, or a conveyor here, sorry, with a block like that to line that up. And like I said, you could do, let's see, you could do, well, these don't have conveyor tubes, but you could do a line of small containers there if you really wanted to for optimizing space, blah, 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 blah. Personally, I'm not worried about it, but I like this a little bit better. I think it's a little bit roomier. We still have a bit more room to walk and do some decorative work, design stuff, you know, all that good stuff. Oh, hold the phone. Hold the phone. Let's scrap that for a minute. Let's also scrap this for a minute. I'm probably gonna leave that conveyor there just in case I decide I want to do something with it. I totally forgot. Back when this was all over here in this one room, we had the oxygen stuff set up in here also. I totally forgot about that because it has to be connected to storage so that we can do like ice and things going right to our stuff. I don't know if oxygen can use... I don't actually know if they can use that stuff or not. And this is the smaller... Gosh, I do not remember what of this was better to use. These are cheaper. Let's actually compare with just tanks for now. How about that? Oh, and then there's another one. Dagnabbit. Alright, And then there's the azimuth ones. Crap! There's so many tanks! Alright. So let's just roll through these real quick. Azimuth looks a little expensive, but it more than likely holds more. This is larger, but way cheaper than this one. Well, I say it's way cheaper. I don't know if it's way... Oh, wait. I'm comparing to the wrong thing. Here we go. Yeah. So way cheaper on that. These are even cheaper, but they're definitely smaller. And then this is more like, I think, the standard, like, vanilla oxygen tank for a small ship. And then this is actually the large model in a small... This is from the small ship pack, I believe. This one has a large... Connectivity-wise, that might be a bit difficult to hook up correctly. Not to mention it's a big sucker. Though we could put a couple oxygen tanks down here, actually. I hadn't thought about that. Alright, let's check generators. Because that could make or break a difference as well. Oops, okay. I don't think you can use the modules on there anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Generator, 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 generator. And I don't think whatever this mod is has it. I think it's just got... box. I think it's just got tanks. There were two different size tanks, but I don't think it actually has any generators for that mod. Now, I know we have the O2 farms out on the wings and all that stuff. That's all well and good. I'm looking at, pretty much I'm just looking at, this doesn't have to be a huge system. I just need a contingency if for some reason we got those farms damaged or you're on a dark side of the planet, can't get to the sun. You know, you want contingency stuff. Oddly enough, the generator for this doesn't seem that expensive. Although, this one, it's hard to see with the new HUD, it kind of overlaps, but the steel plates do actually cost 60 instead of 8. So it is a little bit more expensive in that regard. This one, again, not bad. It's just bulky. And then this is the smaller... That's actually, I think, the cheapest one. It just doesn't look as cool. I like the azimuth looks to things, I really do. That has a cool look to it. So, again, I'm not really sure. This one has more connection ports, so I think we're going to go with this for now. I'm not really sure how much I really need them, or how much I should just keep them as a contingency backup plan. Oops, wrong one. There we go. I think I might just go with that, actually. That keeps it in line, but it's all connected, so we do have one. And the tank with it... Now, tank-wise, we might want more, because that's not much storage at all. This tank does not have any side ports, though. So... Alright, I'm gonna do it this way. Though, again, keep in mind, I don't know if it will stay this way or not. And again, your feedback's always welcome on stuff like that. Ooh, actually, I could put it out here. Just bear with me for one... Where's this end up putting me? Yeah, that's a lot. I don't know that I really need that much. I wish they would tell you what their maximum capacity is. It just says percentage filled. It doesn't really say how long it'll take to fill up. So tell you what, I don't really need all this. Let's just be honest. I can get a little carried away in creative mode because you're like, ooh, I can just build this, but in reality, I've got to actually be able to make all of this, too. So, that's one way we could do it. Not super thrilled with it. Kind of a little ugly. But again, temporary. Let me know what you guys think about all that kind of stuff. I also wonder if there's a way to connect it up through there, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. Actually, I got a better... well... I was just thinking what I could do is wrap this back behind here and put them on the back, so it's not as visible. I don't know. For now, I'm going to remove these extra ones, and we're just going to keep this one. I know that's not enough, and I need more oxygen storage, but there might be a more clever way to hide it, so I'll wait to see what you guys have to say about some of that feedback stuff and things like that. But overall, I am much more happy with this setup than how it was in the end of the last episode, and we got our oxygen extenders back, which is awesome. So hopefully before the next episode, if I have time in between this episode and the next one, I can go through and fit that on the other wing so we can kind of move on from that. But overall, I think this is better. I like it a little bit better, though I'm not entirely sold on it being completed yet. There's still more we could probably do to streamline it or add functionality, etc., etc., and so on, like having screens or maybe filling up some of the extra space with more storage, you know, just little stuff. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. In the meantime, I think we're going to wrap things up here. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.